The Toronto Raptors have fully transitioned into a new era of their team, building around Scottie Barnes and Immaunel Quickley, both of who signed massive extensions this offseason. Toronto signed Quickley to a 5-year, $162 million contract, which on average will pay him $32.5 million a year, and there's incentives in there, which means the deal could reach a total of $175 million over that 5-year span. It is definitely a massive increase for the former sixth man, but it only makes Quickley the 21st highest paid guard in the league next season. So can Quickley grow into his contract and reach a level where his deal is considered a steal? The biggest thing that separates good players from all-stars and all-stars from superstars is the ability to play-make for others. Quickley, when he was in New York, didn't really have to flex his playmaking muscles, with Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and RJ Barrett taking on those duties more predominantly. When Quickley got to Toronto, the first question was, does he have the playmaking chops of a lead guard? And he answered those questions right away, averaging 5 assists over his first 8 games in Toronto, which was double what he was averaging with the Knicks. The most surprising thing wasn't just the raw assists, but how few turnovers Quickley had, with just 1 per game. Quickley kept growing as a passer as the season ended, taking even more on-ball duties on when Scottie Barnes, Jakob Poeltl, and RJ Barrett were either hurt or away from the team. With this added responsibility, Quickley showed real control with the ball, being able to snake the pick and roll, getting the defender on his hip, and then pausing for a few seconds with his dribble before making the right read, whether that was finding the man on the roll or kicking out to shooters. Quickley's first step is quick enough to get by people on his own, and from there he can pass off the dribble, once again finding people in the dunker spot or spotting up from 3. Quickley is an excellent rebounder for his size, which opens up his outlet passing and transition passing. He does a good job of reading when a teammate has a cross mass in transition, making sure to feed them the ball in the paint and letting them go to work. He's also pretty good at recognizing when he has someone running out in transition and gets them to rock quickly. He does have a bit of a tendency to jump in the air sometimes when he's trying to access passing angles that he can't from his height at just 6'3". This does force him into making decisions that can lead to either bad shots for himself or turnovers. 20% of Quickley's turnovers with the Raptors came after he left his feet. It's something that he definitely has to clean up, but for a first-time lead guard, it's kind of understandable why he's doing it. Quickley proved in his time in Toronto that he can be a lead guard, averaging 6.8 assists and just 1.8 turnovers across 38 games with the Raptors. That's an elite turnover ratio of both 3.78 to 1 turnover, and that's just amazing. Having watched all but a few of Quickley's turnovers, I can say most of them, especially at the beginning of his time with the Raptors, came from not having chemistry with the roster. And for a young point guard, that does take time to develop. Something that everyone knew Quickley could do before he even got to Toronto was shoot the ball from 3, especially as a pull-up shooter. Over his time with the Raptors, Quickley shot a pretty nice 36% on pull-up 3s on about 4 per game, and that just opens up the court for himself and his dribbling game as well as everyone else on the team. This on-ball gravity is best used in the pick and roll, where teams have to go over the screen with Quickley and have their big men step up just a little bit more, which then forces a 4-on-3 chance once Quickley feeds the ball to Jakob Poeltl or Kelly Olynyk on the roll. And with both of those guys being great passers, the Raptors are able to capitalize on these chances very effectively. Quickley being such a great shooter means that he also draws a lot of attention off the ball. He does a pretty good job of using that attention to confuse opponents by setting ghost screens and then flaring out to the 3-point line, or just running off-ball movement and getting open from 3. The Raptors use Quickley as an off-ball threat, setting screens to free him up from deep, and he does a good job on converting these attempts, but I think he and the team can expand this area of his game just by running more actions for him and getting him more of these shot opportunities, which he's very good at knocking down. Quickley, of course, is excellent off the catch as well, knocking down 42% of his catch and shoot 3s. Once again, I think the team and himself can work on Quickley getting more catch and shoot 3s by using him as a screener more often with guys like Scottie or RJ when they're ball handling. One thing I did know about Quickley and his 3-point shooting is he really does like to take a dribble no matter what is happening just to help him get set, and so some of the times it slows down his ability coming off a screen to just right there fire, because he likes to take his one dribble to get set and get his rhythm going. I think he can work on that by just kind of eliminating the need for that dribble, and if he's able to speed up his shot motion just a little bit, him coming off screens or setting screens and then getting open from behind the line is just going to be even more dangerous. The weakest link in Quickley's offensive arsenal comes from his inside the arc scoring. As not a super explosive vertical athlete, Quickley has to find ways to score from below the rim. This meant a healthy amount of mid-range pull-ups and floaters while he was with the Knicks. In Toronto, these shots just weren't really falling at the same rate, with Quickley shooting just 32% on mid-range jumpers with the Raptors and 37% on shots from 3 to 10 feet away from the rim. When you compare that to what he was doing with New York, it is a pretty massive difference. In the 2022-23 season, as well as 2023-24 season before he was traded to the Raptors, Quickley was shooting 43% on 153 mid-range attempts. Still not elite, but pretty solid touch, and with the handle he has, he's able to get these shots when he wants. In Toronto, they just weren't really falling at the same rate. While Quickley did shoot worse on floaters, once again his handle is good enough to get these shots, I just don't think they were really falling at the same rate. One thing that Quickley did show though in Toronto was an elite ability to finish right at the basket, shooting 72% from 0 to 3 feet. And I think this is kind of like what happened with RJ, where the Raptors just have better big man spacers in Jakob Poeltl and Kelly Olynyk than Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein, and that just opens up the court for guys like Quickley to get all the way to the rim and finish. And once again, his handle is good enough to get right to the rim. I think he does shy away and settles for floaters or mid-ranges sometime a little too often because he doesn't really want to absorb contact, and that's just because he's a pretty thin guy and he might just not have the frame to build on a lot of muscle. But if he can, I think his paint numbers will increase, meaning his efficiency as well as his attempt. Part of the problem when you shy away from contact and you don't like contact is your free throw attempts aren't very high, and with Toronto, Quickley hit a career low in free throw rate. Once again, with more strength on top, I think he'll be able to improve in this, and it is a pretty massive part as being a star or a lead guard, being able to draw free throws and get opposing teams into foul trouble. I think he'll need to figure out how to get guys into the air a little more often and jumping into them to create easy points out of nothing. But I think that comes with more time on ball as well as more time as a star, which Quickley hasn't been until he was with Toronto. Defensively, Quickley is a very interesting player. He's not a lockdown point of attack defender and he's not pressuring guys 94 feet, but he still has a positive impact. At 6'3", he isn't the smallest guy on any roster, and with a 6'8" wingspan, he can guard up some twos as well as be a menace in the passing lanes, forcing deflections, and overall just being a nuisance on that end. But that isn't what makes Quickley so interesting defensively. It's all the stuff he's doing off the ball. He's very active and rotates, and with his wingspan mentioned before, he can cover two players at a time when they're both spotting up from 3. He reads the floor very well defensively, knowing where to be and when. In Toronto, of course, I think he took a step back defensively, but that was with the added offensive load, the team not really playing for anything meaningful, as well as guys like Jakob Poeltl and Scotty Barnes being hurt, who are the two best defenders on the team. It's really hard to know how good Quickley will be as a defender next season, with everyone fully healthy and probably less responsibilities offensively, but I think Quickley is capable of being a good team defender, a guy who isn't going to be hunted ruthlessly, and with a good defensive unit around him can help elevate it to an elite level. Last season, Immaunel Quickley showed that he could not just step into a larger role, but he could also run a team's offense. Quickley proved that he's a good playmaker and a good decision maker, increasing his assists almost by 3 times while only turning the ball over 0.8 more time. On top of an increased playmaking load, Quickley showed the ability to up his 3-point shot attempts while remaining just as efficient. Quickley, of course, needs to work on some things with his game, like his inside the arc scoring, but with his handles and what he's done previously in his career with the Knicks, I think he has the ability to reach a higher level on that side than he showed with the Raptors this past season. Quickley finished the season with Toronto, averaging 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists with a 56% true shooting. Quickley got paid this offseason, and the Raptors are counting on him having another level to his game, being a building block alongside Scotty Barnes in their new era. With that in mind, Quickley at just 24 years old, starting for the first time, showed tons of potential. I think he has all-star upside. He might never be a 5 or a 7-time all-star, but a 1 to 3-time all-star seems very likely for everything that Quickley does well on the court.